It's often said that success happens when preparation meets opportunity. For many entrepreneurs, the opportunity to gain business funding could be the difference between failure and success. So, how should entrepreneurs prepare for funding opportunities? Well, one way is to have a solid business plan. Another way is to know how to pitch your business plan. Today, Access Accelerator, which offers a number of services including access to capital, will be helping entrepreneurs like some of you to write the perfect business plan and deliver the perfect pitch. Keep watching. This is You and Your Money.
Tonight's You and Your Money is brought to you by Access Accelerator.
Welcome everyone to You and Your Money. I am Nathaniel Butler, today's guest host. We have an exciting show today with the Access Accelerator Small Business Development Center. Access Accelerator is here to provide us with some pointers on how to make sure our business plan and pitch are on point for those of us who are entrepreneurs that are pursuing funding. Joining me now is Access Accelerator Project Manager Davin Russell, who will be walking us through the components of a perfect business plan. Mr. Russell, welcome to You and Your Money.
Thank you, Nathaniel. It's good to be here.
So you and I go way back in regards to business plans and business development. And I'm happy that they have you here today because we want to dive into the topic of business plan and perfecting it. So before we get into that, we would like to have some more information about the Access Accelerator's original programming and how it helps entrepreneurs in securing funding and what is needed from the entrepreneur in order to secure that funding.
Thank you for that question. As you know, at the SBDC, we have a multitude of programs to help facilitate small businesses here in the Bahamas. One of the key programs is the one that I manage, which is called a Credit Enhancement Facility. Back in 2020, the government of the Bahamas signed an agreement with the Inter-American Development Bank to allow for $22 million to be allocated to this fund. The purpose of it is, of course, to facilitate and to enhance small business lending in the Bahamas. Businesses access that facility by going through their financial institutions as they traditionally would when they seek commercial and small business loans. So there's nothing special they have to do. The fund operates in the same way that a traditional loan works. It's just that the SBDC is the facilitating agency to make that happen on behalf of its small business clients.
That's great to know. And so tell us, how critical is the business plan in this approval process to access the capital?
As you know, Nathaniel, the business plan is the bedrock of applying for all credit, for the most part, here in the Bahamas. And as a small business and would-be entrepreneurs, that is the key document that you need to execute flawlessly in order for the financing institutions to take a serious look at your application.
So let's dive into the business plan itself. Could you walk us through some of the key components of a business plan?
As you know, business plans are not boilerplate agreements, not boilerplate documents at all. There's no one size fits all. But all business plans should have what I believe are these four key components. First, a business plan should have an executive summary. And as you know, the executive summary really is just a little bit, one or two sentences each, of some of the key components that I'll talk about a little bit more with you today. The second grouping is you should talk about a company overview, the company history. That should be the second component that your business plan contains. The third, you should talk about sales and marketing, how it is that you're going to move the product, what is in the product or service that you're selling, and exactly how do you plan? What's your sales strategy going to be? And finally, most importantly, your financial section, which is where most entrepreneurs sometimes fall down. The banks, the financiers, as well as private lenders or investors are going to zoom right in on that section. So it's important for that to be quite on point.
So let's dive into the executive summary. What are some of the main components that needs to be outlaid in the executive summary?
So when you think about an executive summary, think about it this way. If the only section of a business plan the banker or the investor is going to read is the executive summary, have you included all of the key components in that portion of the document. The executive summary, ironically, although it comes first in the document, it's often prepared last. And that's because it's really just a summary, as the word implies, of all of the other detail that's included in the business plan. As an example, you would just want to talk a little bit about the company history, about the management structure, about what is your sales and marketing strategy, about who exactly it is that's operating the business and what it is that you do. And finally, your executive summary should wrap up with some of the key assumptions, some of the key financial data and parameters, and even the ratios that you would use in your business plan.
Now, you mentioned also as one of the components is the company overall company overview. And I want to dive into that because in recent times, I've discovered that when an entrepreneur doesn't have the background of the type of business that they are seeking funding, the company overview is very critical. As you mentioned, management, the backgrounds of individual, and even the structure. Can you dive a little bit more into?
Absolutely. So here's an easy way for entrepreneurs and would-be entrepreneurs to think about the business plan. The business plan really seeks to answer 4 fundamental questions. It's the who, the what, the why, and the how. So let's look at your company overview. I like to think about this as the who section of the business plan. So who isn't necessarily literally only talking about you, the entrepreneur, but who is the company? What does the company do? Who represents the management? What are the profiles of these individuals? One of the things we sometimes often miss is selling ourselves. This is a great section for you to start selling yourself and your business to would-be investors and business and banks. For example, if you have a background in finance, a background in sales and marketing, amplify that in this section. You're getting ready to launch a business that quite frankly requires somebody with an expertise in sales. And if that's your background, that's the opportune time for you to mention it. If, however, you don't have that as your personal background, make sure you have somebody on your team that excels in that area and use that portion of the business plan to amplify that skill set. Give some examples, if you have them, of successes that you may have had in that area. Nothing is off limits.
And I want to move over now into the market part or the marketing plan of the business plan.
So this section, Nathaniel, is probably the longest section, or can be the longest section. And I find that entrepreneurs sometimes get carried away in this section. You have a tendency to be quite wordy, and it may not necessarily be appropriate in this area. For example, a business plan needs to have some correlation between the amount of money that you wish to borrow and the length of the plan. You see entrepreneurs who wish to borrow $100,000, for example, spend 10, 15 pages on this section. That's not necessary. It really should contain a couple of key elements. For example, what is the size of the industry that you are about to enter? Now, in the Bahamas, I know statistics are very hard to come by, especially for business data. So let's take, for example, you're in the food and the restaurant business. How do you determine what's the size of the food and restaurant industry in the Bahamas? Well, first of all, you need to decide what segment of the food and restaurant industry you're going to operate in. Mm-hmm. As an example, let's say you're in the fast food versus casual dining or high-end restaurants. You don't necessarily need to talk about the entire restaurant industry, just your subsegment. You can go to places like the Department of Statistics, the Central Bank. They produce quarterly reports, sometimes monthly and annual reports, that would give you a good glimpse or a good sense of what's the size of those industries. Another option that entrepreneurs have is you can use data from the United States and extrapolate some of that information to make it apply to the Bahamas. One way to do that is if you have, let's say you're looking for the average meal or the average value of meals or dinner, lunch, breakfast that people consume. If the average person spends $20 on lunch, and on average 1% of your population goes out to lunch a week, then you take the 1% of the 400,000 persons in the Bahamas, which would be 4,000 persons times 20. That would be $80,000 a week. That's just a simple example of what I mean when you want to talk about the industry that you're in. That's the who.
So, Davin, we have to take a quick commercial break. But when we get back, we will continue the discussion on the components of a business plan. You are watching You and Your Money. We will be right back.
In the Bahamas, small business is big business. More than 90% of the businesses in the Bahamas are classified as micro, small, or medium-sized enterprises, or MSMEs. The Access Accelerator Small Business Development Center was created to serve them. We at the Access Accelerator offer a variety of services to our clients: business advisory services, training and entrepreneurial programming, mentorship and incubation, and advocacy.
I was actually born into farming. My grandfather, who is 80 years old, he's a first-generation farmer. 3 generations later, I decided to go into farming. So we do have 2 operating farms at this time, the one in Nassau and the one in Andros. This season, Access Accelerator assisted us in funding our strawberry project here on Andros. With us being able to access the Fish and Farmers Grant, it has actually given us the capital that we needed to start this farming season for our strawberry crop. We do believe that people eating organic food is very important, and we want to offer safe food and organic food. Some persons are still shocked that we've been existing for 8 years. Outside of having to come to our website to make purchases, if we can get more of our products to our clients, we'd be happy to do that, and local distribution would help us with that. I can tell you the industry is not attractive for young people. However, if you are passionate about something, you will definitely be able to excel in that area. And at this point for me, it's fun to be a farmer in the Bahamas.
Welcome back to You and Your Money. I'm Nathaniel Butler, today's guest host. If you're just tuning in, the show today is with the Access Accelerator Small Business Development Center. We're discussing how to write the perfect business plan and deliver the perfect pitch. Still here with us to continue discussion on the components of a perfect business plan is Access Accelerator Project Manager Davin Russell. Now, before the break, we talked about the marketing plan. And I know that in the marketing plan, there are room for the description of the products, the information or services the entrepreneurs would be selling or distributing. I want us to dive in a little bit more about that. What tips and suggestions you would give to an entrepreneur and as they break down their products and services in the plan?
So as I mentioned, Nathaniel, the plan really should seek to answer the who, what, why, and how. When you talk about the products and services, that's the what exactly it is that you're selling. This is an opportunity for the entrepreneur to get in a bit of detail about what the product or service is they're offering. Let's take a restaurant example that we used in the previous segment. If you're a restaurant and you're thinking about offering a lunch special, highlight the lunch special. If you're thinking about offering, now we have mini snacks, regular size snacks, different price points for different subsegments of your menu. This would be the perfect opportunity for you to make a distinction between you and others in the restaurant industry. If you're doing a car wash business, not all car washes are the same. Some require the detail of the wheels, some require more interior work, some are just an exterior wash. You would list and label all of the detail within this products and services section and the different price points that you're going to be offering that to your customer base. This section allows you to delineate between you and somebody else in the industry. If you will, what's your competitive advantage? What's your strategy behind how it is you're going to do what you're going to offer?
And let's talk about competitors, because as you know, in this market, as soon as you launch a business, someone else, if they see that it's viable, may potentially copy you. So how do you compete against competitors? And what is some of the strategies in regards to sales that persons can implement to become more successful?
That's a great question. Let me take your mind back a few years ago. Back in the day, many of us remember the 99-cent breakfast stands
Yes.
that popped up everywhere in this country.
Yes.
Why were there no $1.99 breakfast stands as prices went up? It's like people abandoned the market in its entirety. If you had a proper sales and marketing strategy, right now we're in an incredibly inflationary environment.
Correct.
You've got to learn to pivot. People don't expect 99-cent breakfast to last forever. Even a dollar store no longer sells everything for $1. You need to include in your plan what is the strategy that you're going to deploy, and think about, hey, if I operate in an inflationary environment, how exactly am I going to pivot? And one way you can do that is you can have different categories of prices contemplated in the beginning. As I mentioned, one could be the exterior car wash that you promote during an inflationary environment, because that's your lowest price point of entry. Everybody's not going to be able to afford a $15 inside and outside car detailing service, but a lot of people may be able to afford $7 for exterior only service. That's just one example.
And my last question on this, in regards to the marketing and the sales, you mentioned it, we're in recessionary times. What should new entrepreneurs and existing entrepreneurs do in the planning phase as prices go up and may potentially affect their business?
You know, Nathaniel, one of the most difficult things for entrepreneurs to do is to raise prices on their customers. But if you think about business today, I have a few businesses of my own. And I'll tell you, the customers almost expect you to raise prices in environments like this. Right. Don't be afraid to do it. If you see, for example, your demand is going through the roof, in an inflationary environment, chances are you may be too low in your price point. People are flocking to you not necessarily because you have the best product or service, but because you have the lowest price. Right. And if the price you offer is lower than the cost of operating, for every dime that you make, it goes right out the door in terms of expenses. You're not operating a profitable business.
So we mentioned earlier about the financial plan. Let's dive into the financial plan and the financial projections and what should be a part of the financial plan.
So the financial plan answers the why. Why are you in business? Well, we're all in business for the most part to make money. Even those of us that may be operating charitable enterprises, you might not be in it for profit, but you at least want to break even. So what should you put in this financial section? There are a couple of things. One should be your key assumptions.
Correct.
What was some of the basis that I used to generate these financial statements? Secondly, you should create your P&L or your profit and loss statement. That is your budget from a revenue and expense and profitability perspective. Also in those financials, you should have a budgeted balance sheet that would have your assets, your liabilities, and your owner's equity in that particular section. And for a lot of businesses, especially if you wish to borrow a significant amount of money, it would be important for you to probably invest in a business plan software application that could generate a cash flow statement for you. For people who are seeking to borrow significantly less money, maybe about $100,000 to $250,000, your income statement and your balance sheet would probably be quite sufficient. So those are a few of the sections that you would want. So it would be your budget, what are those key assumptions, and you would highlight in summary fashion in the narrative section of that financials some of the results from your potential activity. And finally, what I would also add is in this financial section, you should include graphs, charts. You don't necessarily need to be as wordy in this section as you are in previous sections, but you would want to consider graphs and charts that highlight what your income and your expenses and your profitability would look like over time. And of course, your appendix in this section would be the detail of the financials that you have included in this section of your business plan.
And the most important area, I can't let you leave without asking you, the use of funds.
Absolutely. So there's both the sources and the uses of funds that will also be included in this section. Thanks for catching that. So sources of funds, of course, would be you, the entrepreneur. What are you putting in terms of equity? Uses would be, how is that money going to be used? Sometimes we think about it in terms of startup expenses, for example. So if you're going to borrow $100,000, some of it is used for equipment, some of it is used for marketing, some of it is used for working capital. So what are those bills that you're going to need to pay before you get to the point of profitability? So that would be some of the things that we would put into this section when we talk about sources and uses of cash.
Davin, I want to thank you so much for all the information that you shared here with us today. I believe it will help and empower the entrepreneurs in their pursuit for funding.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Up next, we have Shanna Edgecombe, the Ecosystem Technical Coordinator at the Access Accelerator Small Business Development Center. She will be discussing how to perfect your pitch. This is You and Your Money. We will be right back.
In the Bahamas, small business is big business. More than 90% of the businesses in the Bahamas are classified as micro, small, or medium-sized enterprises, or MSMEs. The Access Accelerator Small Business Development Center was created to serve them. We at the Access Accelerator offer a variety of services to our clients: business advisory services, training and entrepreneurial programming, mentorship and incubation, and advocacy.
Welcome back to You and Your Money. I'm Nathaniel Butler, today's guest host. Before the break, we spoke with Davin Russell, Project Coordinator at the Access Accelerator Small Business Development Center, about how to write the perfect business plan for funding. Joining us now to talk about how to successfully pitch a business for funding is Shanna Edgecombe, the Ecosystem Technical Coordinator at Access Accelerator. Shanna, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Nathaniel. I'm glad to be here.
So you're here to talk about pitching successfully for funding. But before we go into that, I want to understand the role of a pitch deck in the whole pitching process.
So instead of giving an investor, a bank, another financial institution, your entire business plan, sometimes what they ask is for you to take out the key elements of your business plan and put it into a presentation. That is essentially what a pitch deck is. And so you may be taking a 30-page business plan, a 40, a 50-page business plan, and you're putting it into 10 slides or more. It's up to you.
Now, as you reduce this document, what are some of the key components from the business plan that should be carried over to the pitch deck?
So Guy Kawasaki, he is well known in the business world, and he says that you need just 10 slides to sell your business to an investor, to a funder, to a bank or another financial institution. So the first slide is your title slide. It is literally showing what it is, the name of the business. You can put on a background that shows what you're selling, your product or your service. And then the second point is, what is the problem or opportunity that you are addressing? The third slide is, what is your value proposition? Your value proposition is a more complicated way to say, what is this addressing and why? Why is this relevant? Why should anyone care about this problem? And why are you the person who is addressing it? Then the third slide is underlying magic. What makes your business special? What makes your products and services special? Why, again, should people care? Now, thirdly, it is your business model. It is literally, there are people out there who have the money that you want. How are you going to get their money into your business? And then there is what is called the go-to market plan or the marketing plan. How are you going to get in front of those persons to give you their money? Then there is the competitive analysis. Everybody has competitors. You need to be upfront about who it is that you are facing in the industry, in the market, and be as objective as possible. And then There is a foe for many persons, and that is the financial projections and key metrics. It is important that you have 3 to 5 years of projections that you extract from your business plan and you put them into your pitch deck, into your slides. Your investors need to see that you intend to make money. They want to see if you are realistic about how much money the business is going to make. And they want to be sure that when they give you money, there will be some return on investment.
Yeah, well, that's the whole point in investing in it, right?
Exactly.
So tell us now, how do you position yourself from having a good pitch to a great pitch?
Yes. So the foundation of a good pitch is that you are able to clearly communicate what it is that your business does. What are the products and services? What exactly do you sell? You may think that you have a great product or service, but the reality is if you cannot explain it in simple terms, then you have failed right there. To make a great pitch deck, there are 3 key points that I would tell anyone. First of all, strike a chord with emotions. Tie in some story. Make people feel something when they're listening to your pitch. You can make people feel nostalgia, sadness, joy, whatever it is. That also helps people not only connect, but they will also remember your pitch as well. Another thing is answer the objections that may come during your pitch. So, for example, if you are pitching a product or a service that requires you to get trademarks and intellectual property, let people know that this is what you're working on during your pitch deck. Don't wait until Q&A comes after or people feel uneasy that there are questions that you seem to have not considered. The third point is have mock-ups, prototypes, demos, or samples if you can. So you take this idea, this business, this product from paper to actually allowing people to see it. And that is where the excitement can really come in.
So we know that accessing capital is not all that you offer at the Access Accelerator. What are some of the areas that you assist in business plan development and also pitching for entrepreneurs?
Right. So at the SBDC, we have a team of business plan writers that actually help persons who need assistance getting their business plans to the stage where they can actually approach investors. Same thing with pitching. We work with persons to be able to sit in front of a credit committee or financial institutions to help them get their business idea across as best as possible. We also have different programs such as digital skills training, and then we're also kicking off the SET series, which is Summer Entrepreneurship Training and Mentorship Program. So this program is really dynamic. It starts on July 12th. And it brings together Bahamian entrepreneurs who not only want to network with each other, but they also need mentorship. They will get a chance to pitch for prizes, which means that they will be helped with their pitches. It is a really great opportunity.
Great. Well, as you know, small businesses are what helps the economy. And I think you guys are doing a fantastic job at the Access Accelerator. Can you share how persons can get in contact with you guys?
Absolutely. So you can call us at 461-SBDC, or you can visit us online at www.accessaccelerator.org.
Thank you, Shanna, once again for coming on to the show. We really appreciate all of the information that you and your colleague would have shared. Again, you can visit the Access Accelerator's website, accessaccelerator.org, for more information about their services. I am Nathaniel Butler. It's a pleasure hosting today's show. Please don't forget to visit You and Your Money on social media and tune in next week for another great episode. Thanks for watching.
Tonight's You and Your Money was brought to you by Access Accelerator.
Don't let